How did you become director of brand and product? Let's start there.
Gordon got me drunk.
On what?
Red wine.
So, McLaren F1, we all thought we were McLaren fans, you know, that car 30 years later is still phenomenal. But I think in reality what we were was Gordon Murray fans. You know, Gordon's been around, he's achieved everything in F1. Here we are with the latest, greatest, bespoke, chiseled Gordon Murray Automotive T-50. You know the one, V12, 6-speed manual, revs to 12,000 RPM, 4-litre Cosworth, all types of whammy technology into the car. I'm on my favorite road, gonna go for a drive with my buddy, the Taunton Outlaw. You know the guy, 3-time Indy 500 winner, 4-time Indy champ, an all-round cool guy, Mr. Dario Franchitti. Let's meet Dario, we'll have a chat with him, and we'll learn a little bit more about what went into the Gordon Murray Automotive T-50.
Happened now is Magnus. From F1, everything's got heavier and bigger. We went our own way and we wanted an involving car. We wanted a car that you could get behind the wheel at 50 miles an hour, 150 miles an hour. You're enjoying the experience of it, driving perfection, as Gordon calls it. The ultimate aim of it was when you want, this is a car that you got in it and you thought, man, this is the best driving car I've ever driven. And I think, and the guys that have driven it, the journalists that have driven it back in Europe, they've said the same thing. I think it's mission accomplished.
What makes it the best driving car? Talk to me about the engine.
So, you know, we can talk about numbers all day.
Right.
We're not talking about 0 to 60 or top speed or Nürburgring lap times. We don't care. That was never part of the equation. It was all about getting the car lightweight, because lightweight is better in all ways. Yeah, and that whole virtuous circle that goes from there. You can have thinner tires, just smaller tires. You can have smaller brakes. That way it allows you to make the car even lighter again, and that keeps it evolving.
Tell me what you love about the engagement of the driving. You know, I think I'm an analog guy, but what does it mean to you?
So to me, start off steering feel. Modern tyres, it's very difficult to get feel, get the tyre to talk to you through the steering wheel, and I think we've managed it. You saw on the way up here, you're feeling the grip level through your fingers. You're getting the grip level through your inner ear, through your bum, but through your hands as well. And you're feeling the front, when it starts to give up, you're getting their steering starting to go a little bit light. So it's talking to you through that, you're getting a bit of kickback.
A bit cheesy, but you're feeling at one with the whole thing. That is really important to me. Yeah, exactly. You get that feeling right now. It's like skiing. It's like going for a slalom, and you've just got that lovely flow going on. You know, and we're in fourth gear right now.
Then you've got the gearbox, the weight of the gearbox, how the gearbox, the steering, the clutch, the brake, the throttle, how it all ties in together as well.
Ergonomically as well.
Yeah, the weights have all got to be very, very similar. The small movement.
Just the position of it.
Yeah.
What is the brake setup, the wheel and tyre? You know, by today's standards, it's super subtle. What is it?
So 235 on the front,
yeah.
Michelin PS4s, availability of tyres. You can go in any place and find those tyres. 295 20s on the back. I think that's one of the biggest differences from the F1 to this car, the brake performance. Brembo, it is actually the smallest package that they do, but if we could have anything we wanted, we would actually have had a smaller brake package on this car, to the point that part of the homologation process is you've got to do all these stops from VMAX or close to VMAX to 0 till the brakes overheat.
Got it.
We couldn't get the brakes to overheat.
No way.
And we just kept doing it and doing it. And eventually the submission, it was like, no, okay. That allowed us to take the ducting from the brakes and save weight. So great Brembo setup, the lightest one they do. But then we took another 6.5 kilos out of the whole of the calipers. Just because of modern simulation, it allowed us to see where we could take weight out. If you look there, they're all machined. I don't want to tell you what it cost to do that, But you see all these, and they're kind of asymmetric in how we've done it as well.
Confidence inspiring, right?
Oh yeah, the brakes are nuts. I mean, it'll pull a couple of G's on the
Do you
brakes.
find yourself braking later in this car than you think you can brake?
Yes. So with the fan as well, as you go along and you brake, the fan engages, the flaps pop up to 10 degrees, the fan engages and it moves the center of pressure, the aerodynamic center of pressure, to the back and actually sticks the back of the car down to the ground.
You mentioned the fan. I think in a way we can't talk about the car and not talk about the fan. It's a party trick.
Normal car, the diffuser's under here.
Yeah.
And in most road cars, but especially racing cars, you want to get this, you want to maximize this angle to make the diffuser as powerful as it can be. The problem is you get above a certain angle, the air starts to stall. So what the fan in this car does is it removes the boundary layer, it removes the air at an angle like that.
Got it.
And that helps the air adhere to the front edge of the
There's got to be some ducting here towards the fan though, right?
There's a lot of ducting.
Let's go look at the fan. I guess we can't see the ducting, but...
We can open and see the ducting. We can open
we can?
Yeah, yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah. Let me see, I have the key.
Oh, the key to happiness right there. Look at that.
This and one long press.
Whoa. All right, so now talk me through it.
So you can see, I mean, look at the packaging.
It's tight.
Look how tight it is. And
Yeah.
that's some of the fan.
Got it, that carbon, right?
And that goes down here and then connects to the floor.
Got it.
And so, yeah, so when the fan spools up above 70 miles an hour,
okay,
the fan spools up, and that, again, that sucks the air out from the front edge of the diffuser, stops it stalling, makes the diffuser a lot more efficient. Then it's got some other tricks, like if you put it into streamline mode.
What is streamline mode?
That makes when you really want to go quick.
Yeah.
The flaps here go down 5 degrees.
Yeah.
The fan then changes the pressure at the back of the car, helps you go a bit
That's
quicker.
full tilt boogie mode.
That's when you're on the autobahn. Or, as Gordon pointed out to me the other day, that's when you're driving to Scotland and you want to save a few quid on petrol because it makes it more efficient. See that?
Let's try third.
So this is third gear.
Back to that great road to shake stuff down.
Oh man.
Straight up. That's really nice. Line of the road. Oh no, look at that.
That's nice.
That's nice of it. We just got Franchitti.
It's been a while since anybody had that happen to them.
You guys want to come around here one sec? Let's get a close-up on this. So high efficiency mode. I notice I'm looking in here, we got some teeth cut into these carbon blades on the fan. Tell me about that.
So when the fan was first tested, it was quite noisy.
Yeah, of course.
So we then looked towards aviation and how have people, with particularly helicopter tail rotors, how have people lowered the noise?
Decibel level.
And that kept the efficiency, went through a bunch of designs, but that kept the efficiency of the fan.
Got it.
And lowered the decibel count significantly, so that's why it's like that.
Let's talk about decibel count. That's going to lead into the heart and soul of any car, especially this GMA T-50, 4-litre COSI V12. Tell me about the engine. This is obviously bespoke. Tell me a little bit about it on the way up, but tell me in more detail here.
Well, first of all, look in there. Look where the heads are.
Yeah.
Look how small it is.
I see it. Orange, nice, COSI.
Right. It's about 170 kilos.
No way.
The engine.
It's under 400 pounds.
Yeah. Aluminium block, aluminium heads, all kinds of exotic materials that would look at home in an F1 car 20 years ago. It's that kind of level of technology. The pistons are minuscule, everything. It's
Pistons are minuscule.
Minuscule, because to rev that high, the weight's got to be so low. There's no belts, there's no chains, there's no timing chains, it's all gears.
There's no flywheel, right?
No flywheel. So if you look at the back, when the cover's off, it's all these gears. It looks like a Swiss watch. I'll show you a picture of it. It's beautiful. The problem is with that, it's very expensive. To build an engine like that, very, very expensive. But it's such an efficient engine, 675 PS out of 4 litres.
How much torque?
475 Newton meters.
I was surprised when you were going uphill in 5th gear, how much acceleration it had in 5th gear from low down in the RPM range, and that power band is just broad all the way to 12,000, right?
Yeah, and it was kind of a misconception of the engine. And actually, when Gordon was talking to Cosworth at the start, he laid out the parameters, and then one of them was, it's going to need 2 modes. It's going to need a cruise mode and going after it mode. I'm not sure that's the terms they actually use.
We call it full tilt boogie, but going after it mode sounds pretty good.
So, because he's like, it's not going to have the torque, so you're going to have to change.
Torque's important.
Yeah, but Cosworth said, don't worry, it's going to be fine. And as you've seen, I mean, fifth gear, 30 miles an hour. In fact, one of the things I've done with this car, I've ran it from 25 miles an hour in fifth to 186 when the limiter engages in one gear, and it just pulls. And some of that's the lightweight, some of that's this engine.
Let's talk about the limiter. Is this limited to top end speed?
No, the limiter is the rev limiter in 6th gear.
Straight down, yeah, downhill section, this is fine. Carry speed. The only thing you've got to watch here is rocks and, phantom bikes. It's punchy.
Yeah, it's, you feel it with the camber and it works together with it. This is really like going to a lovely downhill skiing section. It's cool.
Yeah, you're in the flow. What is the fastest you've gone in it?
200 and something, over 200. I didn't do the VMAX runs in it. One of our test drivers did that. But I haven't.
Stable at that speed?
Oh yeah. That was one of the big differences to the F1. When I said to Gordon, I said, I took my hand off the wheel at 200 and whatever it was. And actually the test driver that did the VMAX run, he said at VMAX, he said it was just, I was sitting there holding lane. He said, I've done it in other cars, that kind of speed. He said, and I was using a couple of 3 lanes.
Wow,
so
wow. It's just straight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a lovely aero balance to it, which really helps the stability.
Is this 30 years on the evolution of the F1? Does it have DNA in it? I mean, it's hard not to talk about the F1 and talk about the T-50. They kind of go together. I'm learning this stops better. It does quite a few things better. I mean, first question, F1 to this, and then second question, what is this benchmarked against?
I'm not trying to be arrogant, but there's not really a benchmark because we've gone such a different direction. We're not 1,000 horsepower, we're not 1,500, we're not 2,000 horsepower. Which
is sort of meaningless in a way.
Yeah, of course it is. This car was the whole ethos, not even the design, but the ethos behind it was this driving perfection, this interaction, this driving the car and having the emotion that provided. So it was never about the figures. The figures are kind of mind-blowing, but it was all to that end goal. It wasn't about being the fastest car around a circuit, any of that stuff. So it's kind of I think if anybody but Gordon had done that, people would have gone, what? But he has that he's got that back catalogue with what he did with the F1.
Yeah,
that people believed in him, and so many F1 owners current F1 owners and past F1 owners have bought this car.
That makes sense.
It was interesting when you get them in it, and we were doing, they drove the car in Spain. A lot of the owners came over and drove it, and their biggest thing was, my God, does it stop? And that was their biggest difference to the F1. But
and
again,
that's just 30 years of technology?
30 years of technology. That's tyre technology, that's brake technology, it's a bit of the aero. I mean, the F1 had fans too, it had little fans doing a similar job, but just not quite as powerful. This is just taking it up to 11.
The crazy thing about this is when the car showed up today, it's weirdly understated in a sea of a plethora of hypercars with big wings, and they're wide, they take up a lot of space. This thing is small, compact, it blends in and stands out at the same time, but it's what you don't see. It's not big winged, it's not mega wide bodied, it wasn't really loud, it wasn't screaming attention. He calls it driving perfection. I haven't driven it yet, but to me, it's understated elegance in a way from a design point of view. Visually, I mean, tell me about the design of the car.
Yeah, he talks about return to beauty. That's another one of the founding principles. Engineering art's another one. I mean, just look at this rocker, how it's machined out. First glance, people say, oh, it's almost identical to an F1, and then you put it next to an F1, you see they're actually very different. The basic shape is dictated by the centre driving position, so that dictates a lot of the shape of the car as well. But the cutouts, things you don't actually see when you see it in pictures. Look at that cutout behind the front wheel. How it tapers in, and this kind of area is a lot more tapered. When you talk about the F1 and people kind of try and compare them, it's almost impossible. Again, it's like trying to compare a 250 short wheelbase and an F1. Both were the best in their time, in their period. To me, this is the best car for what I want out of a car in this period. And
how do you feel driving it?
I love it. It just puts a smile on my face. one day driving, particularly long day, 12 hours.
That's a long time.
It was a long time, and I was driving home. Actually, I drove past Gordon's house, about 2 miles from Gordon's house, so I gave it a bit of a... And the next morning I said, did you hear something about 7 o'clock last night? And Gordon said, funny. I said to Stella, that sounds like one of our cars.
No way.
And it was, but I was literally at that point thought, I could turn left right now and I could drive to Switzerland, or I could turn right and I could blast up to Scotland, and I'd have been quite happy doing it. I just love,
it's a comfortable car to put miles in.
It is, but I love driving it up these types of roads. That's heaven to me. I can't wait to take this car to Scotland.
Let's talk about suspension setup. I talk about Angeles Crest Highway being one of the world's greatest roads for many reasons. Predominantly, it's a great place to shake down a car. You got different types and qualities of road surfaces. Some are really smooth, some are not. Some have got potholes, some are ribbed. I noticed there wasn't a ton of kickback from the steering wheel. Tell me about the steering feel, the suspension setup, and really the work that's gone into it.
Yeah, so that was, again, very difficult with the steering, trying to get the tyre to talk to you. I think we've got a good balance with that. It talks to you, and you can tell what's happening with the grip level. I mean, you can see with the right height, it's quite a high right height. Right. The car's softly sprung. Doesn't have a rear bar. Gordon doesn't like rear bars.
Not hopping over. Doesn't
do any of that stuff. Secondary ride is so important, and you don't have to have a crap secondary ride to have a car that... I've pulled 1.75G in this on the track, on PS4s.
No way.
No cup tyres, nothing. It's got passive dampers. They're not, multi-setting. They're passive, but they do it right first time. The R53 guys have done a magical job. You'd say it's softly sprung. I think it's perfect for the job, and it allows you to really go over these bumpy roads, and the car floats, and it's independent, and it's
delicate. It's not hopping and bouncing.
No, it's not.
Which ultimately slows you down, I think.
Which ultimately slows you down. In my head, when I was helping with this car, in my head I was like driving it down the crazy Scottish moorland road, big crown in the road, pretty average surface, and I wanted it to be able to float down that road, keep the wheels in contact.
Patch on the ground.
On the ground, the tyres on the ground. Yeah, exactly. And the engineers, the test drivers, I think the whole team we've nailed it.
So the setup, again, we're talking about softly sprung with the damping being...
Do you think a lot of cars are too overly sprung, too stiff?
Yeah, massively.
So tell me about a soft suspension setup.
So you're obviously balancing between having too much roll with a softly sprung car and a car with a soft roll bar, but you're trying to control the platform as well. But then you get to a point with a road car where it becomes like a skateboard, and to me that's completely wrong. And the secondary ride suffers, and the car jumps across any bumps, and you've got to have a car that works across. It's very much like racing an INDY car at Long Beach. A fast car around Long Beach, somewhere like that, really bumpy. You've got to keep the tyres in contact with the asphalt, whether you're hitting a bump, jumping over a curb. And so that we say softly sprung. In reality, compared to cars of 20 years ago, it's not softly sprung, but in reality, compared to the cars of today, some of the real, race replica type stuff, they're basically skateboards. So it's
how do you set the shocks up on the springs for the rebound capacity of absorbing that spring?
First of all, the damping company, R53, started off, right, this is where we think is a start point, with a certain type of spring. And then we made some missteps, actually. That was more us trying stiffer springs. No, too stiff, let's come back from that. And then tuning the damping rates to the spring rates as well, and then trying to get that feel over bumps, over uneven surfaces. But
how it absorbs that energy, that bounce.
But then also feedback from the car, controlling the platform a bit. What gives the most grip? What gives the best feel? What allows the tyres to talk to you? And all that stuff had to be sort of distilled into decisions that ultimately I knew what I wanted it to feel like, but the test drivers had, and the damper guys, R53, they did all the hard work.
What percentage potential of the car do you think you can comfortably achieve on a road like this?
Behaving myself, I'd say 50%.
And then if you sort of want to go into full hooligan mode, what are you up to?
Full hooligan, you better be in the correct country to do that.
Yeah, but put a figure on it.
I mean, 70%.
Okay.
But the important thing for me, at 50 or 70 or even 30%, I've got to have a smile on my face. I've got to come out of it and go, oh, that was fun.
And you want to keep driving it.
You want to keep driving, and that is what we've done with this car.
You've built the ultimate car to keep driving. What's Gordon's term? Driving perfection?
Driving perfection, and that was his.
Like that.
That is, he's
spot on.
He's spot on with it. There's that video, I don't know if you've seen it, when he goes through the tunnel and he gives it a blat. And he has this smile.
That's the one where you're delivering the car to him.
It's the one where I'm delivering the car.
I did some homework last night. I watched it. You know, you seemed a little nervous. Is he going to sign off on it?
That was worrying, actually, because it was, it was like, right, have we nailed it? Because we'd had some discussions about some of the attributes, shall we say, and there was one I wasn't happy with, and we fixed it, and that's when we saw that reaction. He was like, yeah.
That's a smile.
I was like, thank God for that.
Gordon Murray, legendary automotive disruptor, pioneer, builder, designer. I mean, the list goes on forever. What's he like to work with? How does he communicate? How's that relationship?
First of all, I mean, start at the beginning. When I was 5 years old, 1978, Mario Andretti was my driver.
And Andretti was just Formula One champion in 77, right? In the
78.
78.
In the Lotus 79, somewhat confusingly.
Yeah.
But Mario was my guy. But Gordon Murray, I remember seeing that fan car, that Autosport magazine with the fan car from the back.
I used to read Autosport.
Right?
My dad got it.
Oh, it was the only
Why
thing I
Andretti?
read.
Is this an Italian thing? I mean,
he was just...
Wasn't James Hunt, wasn't Lauda, it was Andretti?
I mean, Nicky was... I remember actually being very emotional when Nicky retired the first time. But Mario was my guy. But Gordon,
and that car looked great. Iconic black, gold, Lotus.
So beautiful.
I remember the Lotus Esprit edition of that car, the John Player Special.
It was a JPS
edition,
one.
Yeah.
The S1, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And there was an S2, possibly
well,
S6
the SX1,
one.
yeah, S6 boys. But the John Player Special, that's the one I had.
That was, with the gold wheels proper.
For sure.
But anyway, so Gordon's my hero. And as I said to you earlier, I would see him at these events. And by this point, he'd worked at McLaren too. I'm talking, this was now early 90s. He'd done the stuff at McLaren, MP44, all this success. He'd just started doing the F1, the rocket. So I wanted to meet this guy, but I was so intimidated. I didn't, and it's a big regret. But anyway, we did some filming for Goodwood, and the first day of filming was talking to Gordon about the F1 at his house. And we hit it off. And then he asked me if I wanted to do the launch with him, and from that point, I thought, if I don't ask him this question, I'm going to regret this. And I said, can I come and be involved somehow? And that's how I ended up with the job. But every day is a school day. My favourite day is when you walk in there and he's got the drawing board covered up.
Oh, something's cooking. He's got you on the hook.
What do you think of that? And you're just thinking, oh my God. But to sit and share those moments with him, they're priceless to me. He's a great communicator. He makes complicated things simple for people like me to understand.
I get it. He doesn't dumb it down, he just makes it simple to understand.
He makes it simple. His communication, when he is talking to anybody, whether it's a journalist, whether it's a car fanatic, whatever it is, he's so engaging. He's got such a way, and he's a lot of fun. I mean, the problem is that if you're in a negotiation with him, don't get involved with a bottle of red wine.
Oh, okay.
Because the problem is our negotiations have been Gordon going, well, would you do that? Yes, Gordon. He just has that way about him. And the team, when I say the team, everybody at GMA adore him.
How many people are in that team?
About 400 now. It's not like they enjoy working for him.
Maybe they do.
Adore him.
I'm sure
it's
they do.
not like it's adore.
It's like a dream come true for all these people.
Yeah, he's not just the boss, but he's
a living legend.
He's just Gordon, and we have a few disagreements. How
do they go?
Well, he doesn't appreciate some of the cars that I show up in. He's all about lightweight, and I've got a V8 Vantage Aston 1980s one.
I want one of those. They're kind of getting expensive. Let me guess, he doesn't like that.
He was kind of, And then I showed up at Daytona Spider. He's like,
What if you show up in like a Lotus Elise or something?
Well, that would be okay. But I showed up in the Ferrari Lusso, the new one. He's
not liking that.
And then I showed up in a little Integrale.
Like that.
And he looked at me and he said, is that yours? I said, I didn't think you owned any decent cars.
No way. You got to show up in the Singer. Come on, what happens when you show up in the Singer?
He loved the Singer. He did love the Singer.
All right. He's probably second guessing. What am I doing?
Yeah,
with
he's
this
like,
guy?
this guy's questioning it. But he's just brilliant.
I like him. I first met him, Kev introduced me to him at the Geneva Auto Show in 2017. And it was so cool because I knew he was a friend with George Harrison. I knew he was a rock and roller. I didn't know he had 1,000 rock and roll t-shirts in his collection.
Unbelievable.
I didn't know he collected jukeboxes. I go, this guy's so diverse. Whatever's cool, he's already been into it for 50, 60 years.
He's a rock star.
Well, that's for sure. All right, on that note, let's go drive, man. Come on, let's put some pedal to the metal. How many test cars do we have?
So we ended up doing 20, I think.
Wow, that's
which
quite
a lot. Well, because what ended up happening was COVID happened, so we lost a lot of time.
Yeah.
And we had to
forgot about that COVID.
Yeah, that annoying COVID thing. So we had to speed up the development process, and the way to do that was have more cars at multiple locations covering more ground. It wasn't sort of this car can do hot and cold weather. This car, we had to have one doing hot and one doing cold in another part of the world because we had to get on with it.
Got it.
You know, the customers are understanding, but we wanted to get the cars out there, and so we had to build more prototypes than we probably initially wanted to do.
What is your favourite thing about driving a T-50?
The ability to flow down a road. You know, I love when I'm really pushing it, the engine's screaming and all that sort of stuff. That's really cool when you're absolutely on the limit of it. But also just flowing and carrying momentum, and you feel the lightness of it, and you feel the directness of the controls. And again, it comes back to that soft setup that you've got. It's compliant, it doesn't have a real roll bar.
the street? Has it been dialed in on racetracks as well?
There was some work on track, even though the use case was not for that, but that was how to find the absolute limit of the track on the track, because you can, on the road you just can't do it. And so it was a combination of the two. I mean, literally some of the damper tuning was us, three of us, myself, two engineers, driving around the roads of Surrey.
And this is individual feel, seat of the pants, brain, hands on the wheel, like, you know, your teeth, your fillings falling out, right? Yeah,
that, we like that, we don't like that, try that, do this. So there's a lot of that going on, and that was for all facets of it. There's a lot of subjective feedback. And the engineers, of course, want objective and they want to put numbers to it, but the drivers, we're all going to sort of subjective, and this worked because of this reason.
So that's how you achieve driving perfection.
That's how you try and do it, and yeah.
Would you say you've done it? The team's done it?
I think yes. I mean, I didn't want to, the reason I hesitated there, you don't want to be arrogant. Oh yes, we've done it. This car is, to me, is everything I hoped it would be. And when Gordon tells us that it's everything he hoped it would be, then you go, okay, mission accomplished on that. And not to, you can always, you know, in the future you can do things different or better maybe, but this is right now. This is probably the, you know, well, the other people have called it the greatest driving car of all time, and yeah, they've called it the greatest driving car of all time.
What an opportunity for you to have been part of this, right?
Oh yeah. You know, to do this with Gordon, to get to help, to guide something, a car in the way that you want it to feel, to work with a team that we've worked with, Gordon and all the team at GMA. It's special.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, as from a, you know, I know petrol head. Just shut it down.
You're a lucky lad.
I
mean, we're almost out of fuel, so we've obviously been having a pretty good time. Have you run out of fuel yet in this?
Do you know I have not?
We're not home yet.
No, we'll be fine. Don't you worry.
It's all downhill from here.
We can cruise.
Yeah. Oh man, that's been epic. I think for the small amount of time we've had, we've fucking covered a lot of ground.
Smashed it.